All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Footcandle Film Festival. For those of you joining us from the whole weekend, or maybe this is the first film you watched, either way, we're just happy to have you part of the festival this year. The 2020 version, completely online version for the first time in our 6-year history, but we're just very happy to have everyone here. My name is Alan Jackson. I am one of the co-directors and co-founders of the Footcandle Film Festival and the Footcandle Film Society. Over here to my left, the sharp-dressed Chris Fry, also co-director and co-founder. We have the award ceremony coming up shortly after we finish this discussion, and we are very concerned about how we look. So we want to make sure we go ahead and get dressed before the event later tonight. Right. But that's not what we're here to talk about yet, because most of you just watched a film, a documentary. It was the last one we had on the schedule program to kind of wrap up the festival for us just recently, the film Life in Synchro, and we're really excited to have 3 people involved in the film that you just saw right here with us, ready to talk about the film and help answer some questions that the audience may have and sending through us as well. So I'm going to bring them up on the screen. You've got 3 of them up here. Up in the top left corner, you've got Angela Paniclia. She's the director and producer of the film. You've got John Merrill over in the top right, the coach that you met throughout the film. And then Heidi Kofen down below as well, one of the skaters and someone you saw throughout the film. Wonderful to have all of you here today. Welcome. I hope you're all doing great today, too.
Thank you for having us.
All right, wonderful. Well, I want to jump right into the film because, again, it's a great film. We had so much fun screening it. Thank you for letting it be a part of the festival this year. And I know we've gotten some great audience reactions and feedback as well. Let me just kind of start with the big question about how Angela, you got connected with this group and the idea and desire to want to make this film and tell this really interesting story.
Well, Heidi found us, Heidi and John. So, I first started making this movie in 2017, and I didn't know a lick about synchronized skating. But the producer on the film, Nicole Davies, she was a synchronized skater. And, for years she told me, oh, yeah, I'm a synchronized skater. I just didn't care. She told me at one point she was a national champion. I still didn't care. But finally, I went to see it early 2017. I'm like, my God, this is the coolest thing. Has anybody done a documentary about this? Because at the time I wanted to start a project. And it's like, I'm going to make a documentary about synchronized skating, not knowing anything, which is what I started doing. Okay. And as we were raising funds, Heidi reached out. She's like, I don't know if you know about us, but we're the Maine's only synchronized skating team, and we would love to be a part of this. When you're making a film, a lot of it is access. And I think, that's what filmmakers will tell you. And Heidi, John, and the rest of the Downeasters made it so easy for me to come film them. I think you could really see the spirit of them in the movie, right? That's exactly who they are, the way they were portrayed. They were super welcoming. And again, I didn't know how big of a part they would end up playing in the final documentary, but it's a huge part of the story because that's the beautiful thing about sports, any kind of sport, but specifically synchro, is that it can serve you at any point in your life in different ways. And as you can see for Heidi and John and the rest of the Downeasters, it's all about having fun. I think Heidi maybe has something to add on her end. I don't know what she was thinking.
Heidi, anything you want to add about how this project kind of all got started?
Well, it was that we saw it on, one of our skaters saw it on what is it? Indiegogo. And she sent me the link and I went, well, of course we need to be there. And I sent Angela press releases about us and that we are an absolutely unique team because we are not made up of past synchro skaters. Only one of us ever skated synchro before. And I was 56 when I started synchro. So there you go. And so I thought she ought to know about us. And so I did that.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we saw in the story, John, you getting involved, or at least kind of being featured in the film and the role you played there as well. Talk to me a little bit, being involved in the film. How was that experience for you, John, just kind of having the cameras around and following you guys through some of the season there?
I'm used to being on camera from past jobs and everything, so that wasn't a big problem for me. But I am not used to having audio attached to me,
right.
So I did have to watch my tongue a little bit. But I mean, it was an absolute fantastic experience. I mean, when Heidi first said to me, "I think we should be part of this documentary," and I was like, well, they're not going to want us. We aren't we compete, but we're not the competitive team. One of our big things is we don't have tryouts. If you want to skate with us, you can skate with us. And we make a team with what we have. So I was actually surprised when Angela reached out and said that she'd like us to be part of the documentary, because I didn't think that was what the movie was going to be about. But it just features everyone's best moments, and I'm so excited about that.
Well, I have to say that was actually something that was a nice surprise to me when I started watching the film, is that, I think we've all seen documentaries about different sports and teams and seasons and competitions. And I was fully prepared that's what we were going to follow. And then when we started to get introduced to some of the other generations of skaters and teams involved too, it was like, oh, wow, there is a much wider group and audience involved in this. And that's where, to me, it got really exciting to kind of know that there were multiple teams we'd be following and seeing the different styles and approaches to it. So that was really great. Was that kind of I know, Angela, you kind of hinted at it a little bit ago, but did you go in with that idea that you really wanted to profile, or was it truly you kind of evolved as you went along?
As a first time documentary filmmaker, this is I didn't plan, first of all, for it to be a feature. And because again, a feature requires a lot more, not just in money, but time, story. You got to figure that out. And I had to say, I started shooting without really knowing what I was doing. But I'm so glad, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have the movie I have today. And it really I definitely realized midway through who my stronger characters were, the story arcs were, but then you still got to make it all work together. And it wasn't until I was really editing that I realized that this was going to be the through line was sport at different stages of your life. And that's really what, how I kind of structured it, and who was going to symbolize, those different, and I'm really glad that's the way it turned out, because you're right. Most sports documentaries either focus on the really athletic competitive side, or it's, older people doing it for fun, or it's young kids, but it's never everything. And, but that's literally what I would see when I would go to these synchro competitions. Everybody of all ages would be at some of these competitions, which is it was a natural thing to portray it that way, because that is how you see it.
Yeah. No, I thought that was a really great touch to the film. Absolutely. So what were some challenges along the way? I mean, I'm sure there were some challenges in both making the film, and we saw some of the challenges along the way in the actual, what was documented in the film, but I'm talking about making the film. What were some interesting challenges along the way in trying to capture a synchronized skating team, both on and off the rink? So.
Well, for anybody who, is technically focused with cameras, rinks are really dark and these people are moving very fast and you don't know the routines. So that makes it extremely hard. Yes. Because, you could still watch a routine a whole day and still not really know it. For me, because I didn't know anything about synchronized skating, right? They would start practicing and sometimes they're picking it up in the middle. I don't even know where they are in the program. So I really know the routines now once I've sat and watched them for hours, right, when I was editing it. So that was honestly the biggest thing. And also, I'm not a skater. I wish I could have gone on this ice and filmed them. So we would put the cameras on people. And so, whenever there's usually a moving camera, a skater's holding the camera. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, the really biggest thing was, how do you tell a documentary? How do you tell a story about a sport nobody knows about? What do you need to say? Because I also felt, I'm very this is a character-driven documentary, but we still had to talk about synchronized skating. What is it? Do we go too much into the rules? How much do you need to know? And that, went through many revisions of how much technical information I actually ended up including. And at the end, it was very little, because the more you give, the more people want to know. And I didn't want it to be about the rules, Yeah.
Sure. That's a great approach. I think that makes good sense there. Well, I think the balance you struck with, as far as sharing history, enough history to know that this is a sport that has been around, has a rich history, has been around for a while. Again, not something that everybody would know initially. I think struck a right balance with that. I want to go back over Heidi and John. Tell me how you think knowing that there's now something out there that can start to educate and inform people about a sport that, I think deserves more recognition, needs to have more people seeing it and following it. How do you think that works for your sport, and how do you feel about having a film out there about it now?
I'm very excited about it, and I was so looking forward to this season, knowing that, or hoping that the film would bring out skaters in our area, that we would be able to have a larger, stronger team. And then, of course, COVID-19 and the whole world has turned upside down.
Right.
Sure.
So we're still having a season. It's not the season we were expecting. But, you know, we'll get through this. Everybody we're sticking together, and we'll just hopefully this can carry over down the road.
Sure.
And I think that there's a passion that I have for the sport. And if anything, this documentary and the pandemic has actually heightened my passion because I realize that it's so important in my life, and that the people that I'm skating with are very important to me and in my life. And I think people need to find that passion and those people and hold on to them,
Well, that's so
no
great.
matter your age.
No, I think the film has such a great underlying message exactly about that. Is that finding the passion and finding something that can persevere and kind of you can really enjoy for your lifetime. I think it does a wonderful job with that. Chris, do we have any questions or comments that we can help field to the group from the audience right now?
Absolutely.
Sure.
There was someone that once said that they felt that the older team was actually the most interesting. They got the most out of that part. And they said they loved the line, "We are what those girls are going to become." They thought that was like, you know, the line on the poster, so to speak, you know. Then a question, I guess, for any of you, if you can answer. They were wondering, is there an international competition of synchronized skating? They're just curious about that whole aspect of it.
Yeah, John, you want to answer that, John? Yeah.
There's the World Synchronized Championships. This year was supposed to be held in Lake Placid, where we did our Empire State Games.
Right.
Unfortunately, at the very last minute, I think like a week beforehand, it was canceled for this year. They were going to try and postpone it, but that really, with the way our sport works, you really can't postpone something like that. Sure. You can skip it and come back next year stronger, but you can't really postpone it.
Yeah.
Got you.
Sure, understood. Chris, is there another question there?
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, I saw one earlier.
Okay,
So.
yeah.
Somebody was asking too, and I had similar thoughts on it. There was some wonderful cinematography of the actual skaters and the skate sequences. And I know that there were some shots that were shot kind of from the skaters' perspective. Angela, you want to talk about maybe trying to get, you already mentioned a little bit with the lighting and the darkness of the skating rink, but just trying to get on the rink and get some of the footage that we saw. Anything you can tell us about how that came about?
Yeah, happy to tell you that. So that just the previous comment about we are what those girls are going to become. So in that scene, Heidi at some point had the camera, then one of the other teammates had the camera, which is why you can see Heidi, and then it transitions to Emily seeing the crystals, and they're going, much faster. And those were GoPros mounted on the skaters. Okay. And so that's why we had that great shot of Emily actually doing a lift. You're right, that's the camera's on her head. Yeah. Wow. And sometimes we had like these Osmo, they're like these handheld cameras that have like built-in stabilization. And then one of my favorite shots is the ending shot of the movie of Emily, the camera's looking right at her. And that was a more complicated rig, but still with just a small camera on it. So yeah, we tried to do that as much as we could, again, because I wasn't a skater. So if I were ever able to do the sequel, I will learn how to skate so that I can actually move with them, because as much as I try to pick up the speed that they're going across the ice, very rarely do you really, I think, really feel how fast they're going. And you can only really see this in person. So if there's ever, when we're back to like back to the way things were, and you can go see skating, go to a rink and see it, because I tried to capture it, but when there's like 16 skaters gliding across the ice, it is like a wall of wind. You hear the 32 actual like blades on the ice. It's like almost this really immersive experience that unfortunately you just can't communicate through the movie.
Yeah. So how long were you filming, Angela, and kind of what's the duration and calendar timeline that you were involved with the team here?
Sure, yeah. So I followed like more closely in one season. So it was 2017, 2018 season, but I followed up the following year. sometimes independently, not so much with you guys, but I did show up to one of their competitions, which is that ending shot at the very end where I give the team updates that they had a winning season. But I wish I had filmed more. A lot of filmmakers or documentary filmmakers say they have too much footage. We actually didn't shoot as much as we probably should have. And partly it was just limitations of time. All these teams were away from me. I'm in Baltimore, they're up in Maine. I did a lot of filming in Michigan. It was just not the easiest places to get to. But we definitely tried to get as much out of it as the footage we do have. And, I did travel with the Dan Easters 2 times. So we did get a lot when we were together.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, has anything transpired with the sport or with any of your guys' lives and careers with it since the film has been finished? And I'll just go around to anybody who wants to share their stories of what's going on now. Yes, Angela.
Well, I was going to say, let's start with Heidi. What do you guys? Because Heidi's still doing it. We're still going strong.
Well, that was going to be my question. I didn't want to put you on the spot, Heidi, but are you still skating? And tell us what that's like now.
Of course, I'm still skating.
Wonderful.
I thought at 60 I was going to stop. I thought at 65 I was going to stop. I don't think I'm going to stop at 70. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I will tell you that it was very important to me to make sure that our team had some way to continue this year. And so we have found ice. We follow COVID protocols, and we social distance, but we're on the ice, and every single skater that was with us wanted to do it. And so we take COVID very seriously, but we also realize that there are ways that we can do this, and we just have to keep it going because we don't want people to not have this outlet and this experience.
Sure. Very nice. Well, congrats to you on continuing. That's really awesome. John, anything happening since the wrap of the film?
Are you
just continuing skating? Funny, you had said earlier, what were some of the challenges of during the filming process? And I rewatched the film twice this afternoon, and I was like, keeping our hair color all the same through 3 seasons was probably the most difficult thing. But I think Heidi and I have both gone al natural now, so.
So you are continuing to coach then, John? You're still actively coaching? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's excellent.
I only coach the Down Easters. I am not a regular figure skating coach.
Okay.
When Heidi said she started at an age of 56, that was 2010, and I was sort of brought in as a shill onto their current team to show them that we could have some fun. Yeah. And here we are 10 years later, a different team, but we're still together, a lot of us, and going strong. So
that's awesome.
That is so great to hear. So, and then Angela, do you have, are you working on some other projects or other things going on or coming up, or is it really about getting this film out right now?
I'm still very much focused on getting the film out. And we've, even though we've had the issues with the virus and the pandemic closing things down, we've still had a very robust festival run. And so we're so happy to be a part of it here. But total, we've gotten to 33 festivals, which is huge. Some of those have been postponed until next year, unfortunately. But the biggest thing, the reason I was able to make this movie and I'm very committed to is that this was money came to me through the synchronized skating community, right? They're the ones who helped me crowdfund it. Yeah. And so the mission of it is to increase awareness about the sport. So we will continue to do that. And what we're really excited about is getting it on PBS, which we're working on that, and it's going to happen. So hopefully, fingers crossed, March of next year will be available in a lot of different markets, and it can, what I really wanted to do is for people to show up to go to the sport, to the exhibitions, because to me, all these teams spend so much time, a whole season, developing 1 or 2 programs, depending on what level they are, and so few people can appreciate it, and that to me pains me. Like, it is months upon months, and I just want people to see it, and then beyond that, you want to see the sport in the Olympics, right? Like, that's where it belongs. Yeah. And so if this movie can be used as a tool to help get us there, I'm all for it. So we have a lot of work still to do.
Well, on that note, so if somebody's watching this film, watching the discussion, and they really want to help share information about the film, they want to turn other people on to be able to follow it, or at least know where it may be showing again, or even, let me extend it a little bit further. If they're interested now in synchronized skating and want to find out how they can learn more, follow more, where should they go? What should they do at this point?
Sure. So definitely check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Life in Synchro. We also have a website that has a list of all of our screenings. You could join the mailing list to find out, any new exciting news. And then go to the US Figure Skating's website. You could put in your address and you could find out what teams are nearby. Even if there isn't a team, there wasn't a team where Heidi was, and Heidi started a team. So if there's a will, there's a way, and you can make it happen. Heidi got John to coach. And this could be you. And I think, again, I'm not a skater, but it's definitely made me a convert. And one of these days I am going to get on the ice and I am going to do synchronized skating, hopefully, because, the joy and passion that you see with John and Heidi, it's everybody. That is the spirit of synchronized skating. And it's all this beautiful stuff to be around, this beautiful energy. And you just want to be a part of it, especially with the way the world is today. So nothing but love out there, for real.
That's great. Hey, let me ask both Heidi and John just the same question, and I'll just ask you guys: is there anything about the sport synchronized skating that you really want to make sure you get people understand after watching this film, or maybe afterwards? Just what's the biggest message I think about this? John's raising his hand. We're gonna let John go first. So, go ahead, John.
This is a competitive sport, but that being said, it's the only team sport that I know of where every team roots for every other team, even the teams you're competing against. It amazes me how the camaraderie between teams, and even the teams that we compete against, we usually have a social hour in our room at the hotel afterwards and invite people over. It's all about having fun with our own skating and the whole sport of synchronized skating. It's amazing.
That's so wonderful. So great to hear. Heidi, do you have anything to add to that?
And it is it is a lifelong sport. Whether you're a synchro skater as a youngster or you're just a skater, then it is a team sport. It is the camaraderie on the team. It's not about any one person on the team. It's about your part in making the team, in making the team and what we do work. And so everybody is important, and everybody, the camaraderie, especially for adult women, it is very difficult to find any activity that is like this, that creates a family, and it's not just a team, it's a family.
Well, that's great. That's so great. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up. We want to say, first off, just thank you so much for sharing your story with us, letting it be a part of our film festival. It's a great film. Everybody's really enjoyed it. It's been getting some great feedback from the audience. Don't be surprised if you have a few people reaching out to you about questions or wanting to learn more. I'm actually going to be personally disappointed if sometime in the next year or so we don't have a synchronized skating team here in Hickory, North Carolina, because I think there's enough of you out there that can make this happen. So we do need a skating rink first, though. That's one thing I do realize, is that we are short a skating rink.
That would come in handy.
Minor problem, but we'll deal with that later.
Start on rollerblades.
There you go. Perfect. That's great. But thank you so much for Angela for recording and putting together this story and sharing such a great story. And then thank you, Heidi and John, for sharing your passion and telling us about this sport and what you do and why you do it. And it's so great. So it's a great story. And we wish you all the best in the rest of the festival circuit and any other ways at PBS, hopefully on the broadcast there as well as we go forward. Okay. And I'm just going to say to the audience out there watching, thanks for watching. If you are watching this live and it's still Sunday afternoon right now, please go ahead and cast a vote on this film, and make sure you've cast a vote on any other film. Yes, they're giving the thumbs up there. That's what they're looking for on their rating. This is for the Audience Favorite Awards. We're going to be announcing the Audience Favorite Awards here in just a couple of hours. So if you're watching this now and it's still Sunday afternoon, or actually it's within an hour, you got like a few minutes to go vote really quickly.
Work fast.
We will be announcing Audience Favorite Awards as well as the actual juried awards at our closing awards ceremony here in just a little bit. That is a live, free, open to the public event at 7 o'clock. So we do encourage you to come join us for that. And thank you again to the cast and crew of Life in Synchro. Thanks for this great film.
Thank you very
guys.
much.